want to talk about advanced care planning, and I titled it Talking Matters because there's a lot of information about living wills and advanced directives and making sure you have proxies and paperwork and all of these things filled out that you can find online or in your lawyer's office or at your doctor's office. But really what's most important is not what pieces of paper have you filled out, but who have you talked to? Who's in your family or your circle of friends or your church or your community that really needs to know what's most important to you? Because it's the conversations and the talking that really helps other people know what do you value in your life, what are your goals, what's most important to you, so that they can take all of that information you give them and know what to do if you get into a situation where you need somebody else to make decisions for you. And talking matters. Having those conversations is really important. But having those conversations is not easy. It's really hard. They're scary, they're emotional. Sometimes they're really personal to have those, and they're hard. And that's kind of what we want to focus on a little bit today is how can we have those conversations? How can we do the hard work to start talking to our loved ones and our families that care about us the most and that we care about the most too? And then how do we take that a step further and let the doctors and nurses that take care of us know what we would want and what we would say too? So all of that, all of those conversations is what kind of falls under the umbrella of advanced care planning. And in this talk, I'm going to talk about advanced care planning for your health. Not your wills and not how you want to sort of manage your estate or manage the things that you have, but your health care. What would you say if you find yourself at the end of the life? What would you want your families and your friends to know? So we know a little bit about advanced care planning in the United States. We know that 90% of people say that talking with their loved ones about end-of-life care is important. I think it's a value that most people have. We know it's important, but only about 27% of people have actually had those conversations. It's not something we talk about a lot in America. We don't talk about dying a lot. It's hard to talk about. And I think that's important to talk about because every family has a story. And every person's story is different, and that affects your goals and values at the end of life. So this is my family. This is myself on my wedding day. I'm in the wedding dress, and yeah, just in case. And my husband is the gentleman standing beside me with the tie. We've been married about 3 years. This is my grandmother. We're from Hardin County, so I got married in Vine Grove, Kentucky, which is about 2 hours from here. This is my grandmother. Beside me are my mom and dad, and then my sister is in the navy blue dress with my brother-in-law and their 2 children. And although we're one family, every single one of us has really unique goals and values and really individualized ideas about the type of care that we would want at the end of our life. So my family knows that I let people know what they've told me about their end-of-life wishes. I've got their permission. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my family to help you sort of reflect on yourself and what your family might say. So my grandmother, she's the matriarch of our family, and she has decided to let me be her proxy decision maker. So she sort of let me know what she would want. And that's not actually because I'm a doctor. It's just because we're pretty similar. We kind of think alike. She helped raise me, and she sort of trusts that if she tells me what to do, I'll know what to do it. But the problem is I live several hours away. My mom and dad are her neighbors, and my sister and brother-in-law live down the street. So I had to let her know it's great that you tell me, but we've also got to let these other folks know what to do if one day you find yourself unable to make decisions for yourself. So my grandmother and I have had conversations with the rest of my family about what she would want as she nears the end of her life. And she's an independent 87-year-old that lives on a 64-acre farm and tries to get out every day and still take care of it. My mom and dad, polar opposites from each other. My mom thinks that I have a special medicine that I can give her if she's at the end of life so that she doesn't have to suffer. And I've told her, Mom, I don't have a special medicine for that. But she really doesn't want a lot of things at the end of her life. She wants to be independent, and if she finds herself very sick, she wants to know that she'll have comfort and that we'll take care of her, but she doesn't want to be in a hospital for a prolonged period of time. My dad is the opposite. First of all, he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to answer a question about, hey, Dad, what if you were in a bad accident, or what if you got really sick? But what he has told me is, I don't really trust doctors. I'm a doctor. I don't know that he believes I'm a doctor, but he's told me, though he will ask me for a prescription every once in a while if he needs something, which I won't give him, like an antibiotic. But he says, I don't really trust doctors. So if those doctors tell me things are going bad and want me to donate my organs, don't you let them do it. So we're working through that. We're working through that. But he wants to know that everything has been done. He wants to ask multiple people's opinions. He wants to make certain that if he needs a long stay in a hospital, he's okay with that. He's very different from my mom. Neither of them have ever written this down. I'm the only one they've ever talked to. My sister and my brother-in-law are totally different. They have 2 young kids right now. So what they would want if they found themselves really seriously ill depends a lot on how their kids are doing and what are the needs of their kids if they were to get sick, because they're young. So what they talk about, the conversations they have, are very different than my parents, my grandmother, and my husband and I have only been married 3 years, so we're working through that. We're trying to think about what's important to each other and how do we have those conversations. But every family has a story. Every person has a unique set of goals and values that get reflected in how they think about end-of-life care. And more important than that piece of paper, though those pieces of paper are really important, is, are we talking to our loved ones? Are we asking hard questions? Are we having these conversations? So 60% of people say that making sure their family is not burdened by tough decisions is extremely important. But 56% of people have not communicated their end-of-life wishes to anybody. So sort of similar to that first thing. We don't want to burden our families with these decisions, but we don't know how to talk about them because they're hard. And we don't want our loved ones to feel sad. We don't want them to have hard conversations. So what we're going to talk about today is sort of how can we do that? How can we sort of normalize these conversations so they're just part of family life? They're part of how we help our friends in our community know how to help take care of us. So the first thing we're going to do today is talk about the conversation starter kit. And this should be in the packets that you have. And your conversation starter kit helps you think about what matters most to you. This isn't an advance directive. It's not a legal form. It's a kit that helps you think about what's most important to you. And there's a few different steps, and we'll go through them at the tables with your table moderator to kind of get ready, get set, and go to have these conversations with your family members. So that's kind of the first step, and we're going to work on those today. And for some folks, they'll read this and go, ooh, this is a lot to think about. I've never thought about this. And that's okay. It's a beginning step. And other people will be ready to go and go, oh, I've already completed these. I know exactly what I want. So everybody's different with their readiness to have these conversations and fill this out. But I love the conversation starter kit because it thinks about everything. It asks hard questions. It asks reflective questions. It's a great tool. And you can also go to their website. They have great stories from other people that have talked about how this has been important to them. Another thing that we know about patients and their end-of-life care is that 82% of people say it's important to put their wishes in writing, but only 23% have actually done it. So this is this transition point between having the conversation, and I think that's most important, to then helping families out by putting it in writing. And you may decide today, after looking through the conversation kit and thinking about what's most important to you, you may decide it's time to go a step forward, and that today might be a good day to consider who you would want to express your wishes and make healthcare decisions for you if you can't speak for yourself. So one way to put that in writing is a healthcare proxy or a healthcare decision maker. And there's a form in your packet that helps you do that. A couple of tips for thinking about your healthcare proxy. Sometimes if there's too many people involved, it's hard to get a consensus. Or if you've named a healthcare proxy but you've not told them what you want, that leaves them a little bit unsure of what to do. So if you're to the point where you're ready to name a healthcare proxy, the next step, so you can complete the paperwork, but let them know that, hey, I gave you this really, really important role in my life, and tell them what's important to you so that they'll know to do. I work a lot in the intensive care unit, and one question I always ask is, you know, what have they told you about what's important to them now that they're in the end of life? Because I don't want proxies to feel like they're the ones making the decisions. Your proxy is the person that speaks for you. They don't have to make hard decisions because in an ideal world, in a great situation, you've told them exactly what they need to know. So no one has to carry that burden of feeling like they're making these hard decisions. You've already told them exactly what you would want. So that's one step you can take today. And then finally, 80% of people say that if they were seriously ill, they would want to talk to their doctor about their end-of-life care. They would want to let them know what they would want. but only 7% of people report ever having an end-of-life conversation with their doctor. And I'll tell you a secret. Doctors do not want to ask those questions. We are scared. Emotions make us nervous. We are not trained on how to ask those hard questions, but that is training. That is changing. We are training people. We're training doctors on asking these really hard questions. So that's the good news. Is doctors are going to get better at it. We're not there yet, but we're going to get better. So you may have to tell your doctor or your nurse practitioner or your case manager, hey, I want to talk to you about what I've decided. And that's where that 5 wishes packet that you have can be really important. So today might be a good day to complete a legal document that states your wishes regarding your end-of-life care. And this is something that you can copy and show your doctors, show your healthcare team. If you have a parent that's in a nursing home, making sure they have a copy of it. Those can be really important. And in your packet, there's something called a 5 wishes. In Kentucky, 5 wishes is a type of advance directive. So an advance directive is a legal document that's either notarized or has 2 witnesses to sort of say, this is a legal document. This is what I want at the end of life, and I want people to follow this information. The conversation project sort of leads up to helping complete either that proxy decision maker form or going a step further and completing a complete advance directive. There's lots of different advance directives online that you can find. Churches oftentimes have them, doctors' offices, hospitals, nursing homes. 5 wishes is just one that we chose to bring here today, but there's lots of other ones, okay? So those are kind of the things you're going to work on at your table today. So get ready, get set, go. That's the sort of theme of that conversation project booklet. It'll take you through the getting ready, the getting set, and then thinking about what are some next steps that you might want to take, okay? And these are hard conversations. They're not easy, but they're so important. So I thank you all for coming today to think about this and thinking about your loved ones and your families and your communities and all the people that you love and care about so much. It's a privilege to get to talk to you all. So thank you very much.